what I have learned is we're all busy people. We all want to absorb important messages that resonate with us. And as content creators, as people who have a message, as people who have a brand or a business, we want the world to know our entire message. And the beauty of that is when little pieces connect, right? Because it's rare that we get the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in one shot, right? But we remember the moment that Cap picked up the shield, or we remember the moment that Thor picked up the hammer. There's these little tiny moments. And if we can find those little bridges of connection, it actually begins to build trust, relatability, and authority within your audience.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Spotlight Sessions for high-level users. Regardless if you're brand new or you've been with us for a long time, we welcome you back and we're excited to have you jump with us in this episode. I'm your host, JD, and today I'm brought on a guest here, Cassandra Smith. Cassandra's been in the publishing and content management before it was cool. For the last 16 years, she's worked with a variety of many big brands, professional speakers, high-profile writers, and a variety of others to help get their message out to their audience and in a way that it resonates. And I want you to keep that in mind. What we're going to be talking about here is how to resonate with your niches. The term niche gets thrown around a lot in marketing, but we're going to put this episode to help you perfect the communication with your niche. Cassandra, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit offline, and you were sharing just briefly how things have changed so fast, but the core basics of communication, how you communicate, the storytelling has not left for those that want to receive that message. So
No, not at
I
all.
know, uh-huh.
You're good. I know everyone's worried and they're like, I can become a writer now because there's AI and there's all these tools and I want to get in the game. And I go, that's awesome. Use the tools. Don't be scared of what's out there. But always remember that it's your story that is going to resonate with your audience. That's what's going to beat out your competition because no one else has lived the life that you've lived. No one else has built the brand that you've built. And we want to hear your personal stories and we want it to connect with our personal stories. That's why niche marketing is so important.
Yeah. And when we put this episode together, crafting a personalized experience um, for those niches can be done in many different ways, whether it's email, video, voice. That niche experience that they receive is so powerful. And I know that this is near and dear to you, and we really would need like a 2 hour, 3 hour workshop for this, but we've somehow found a way to condense this into something actionable, but definitely educational.
Yes, absolutely. So, what I have learned is we're all busy people. We all want to absorb important messages that resonate with us. And as content creators, as people who have a message, as people who have a brand or a business, we want the world to know our entire message. And the beauty of that is when little pieces connect, right? Because it's rare that we get the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in one shot, right? But we remember the moment that Cap picked up the shield, or we remember the moment that Thor picked up the hammer. There's these little tiny moments. And if we can find those little bridges of connection, it actually begins to build trust, relatability, and authority within your audience.
And that's exactly why we put this episode with these three important bullet points for you to take home and take action on and build a storyline in your high level as we get into the next couple of months. So we're going to be discussing these 3 points. First one is speaking directly to your audience. Second one is simplifying your message. And the third one is solve problems or deliver joy. So there's a lot to unpack here, and it's where do I begin, and how do I get started, and is this going to even be worth my time? Is probably questions that someone may be thinking that is used to doing things their way and maybe hasn't had the result that they hoped for in communicating the message. Could you help us build the foundation around what does an audience expect that truly appreciates a message? And how do we speak to them in their language?
Sure. I would say with speak directly to your audience, What that means is speak directly to one thought that your audience has, speak directly to one need that your audience has, speak directly to one joy that your audience is looking for, right? So I work with publishing and I work with authors who want to write a book. A lot of them want to write multiple books. We start with one, right? Because before you do an anthology, you do one. Before we do one, we write one chapter. Before we write one chapter, we have bullet points of our headers, right? So it's very simplified. What I like to tell my authors when we get into the marketing side of publishing is you can't share the entire thing. To speak directly, you have to find one moment in your book. So let's say you've got chapter 9, and chapter 9 is about building resiliency within your management team at your job. That's great. The whole book could be about leadership or management, wherever we want to be, but it's about resiliency. Okay, so I could either use some fabulous tools like High Level and other marketing platforms and basically do an email newsletter once a week that says, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Cool. Same message over and over again. Or I could speak directly to one small thought that my audience has. And so for the managers that are in my audience team, if I can talk about resiliency for management teams, instead of just leadership, it's resiliency. And if I could break it down even further, it's resiliency during mergers and acquisitions, resiliency during the holidays, resiliency during vacation time, resiliency during anything. If you can break it down even smaller and make sure that you're talking to them directly, you're not leaving out your whole message. You're not abandoning your entire message and the things that you stand for. You're actually welcoming in someone to have a cup of coffee conversation about one thing that matters. Like, what is it that we love when we're in office environments and collaborative environments? It's when we're talking in the short. We don't sit and have hour and a half water cooler conversations, right? They're 2 or 3 minutes long. And so, how can you have short water cooler conversations with your niche about one thing? And then next week, do it with another thing. And next week, do it with another thing. That's how you build brand loyalty instead of just buy my book, buy my book, buy my book.
So the end result is we want people to buy the book. We want people to buy the product. We want people to buy our service, right? And maybe, it's a bullish or it's that pressure of running a business and meeting those requirements of new revenue. What is a way psychologically, strategy wise to deprogram that buy my book, and now put the strategy in place to speak to your audience? Like, what are a few things that you could start doing to shift that
So,
process?
what I love and what I've just valued, I've never found a tool like High Level. So I was so excited when I finally figured it all out, was creating miniature workflows, miniature campaigns that are going to go out. So I think a lot of the individuals that I partner with, they typically think if I need an email blast, I need a newsletter that's once a week. Cool. But can you have a short campaign? I'm talking 5 days, Monday through Friday, where then you talk to, this is Resiliency Week. Would you like to sign up to be mentored in resiliency this week? You just send them a baby campaign for that. And you know what's great for me on the marketing side? Now I have all of these segmented tags and I understand, oh, here's all my managers. So next time when I want to write a book on strictly resiliency, I know that there were already 14,000 people in my list who loved that and went on the baby campaign instead of just the regular newsletter. And so strategizing what inside of your message can be broken down into the small that helps people with one thing that they're looking for, that speaks to it and gives them something most of the time for free. That's okay because we're building that trust and relatability, and that's worth a ton inside of business. And just building something small where they can experience it and go on this immersive experience. Look, we live in a world right now where customization is everything, right? Have you ever been behind someone in the Starbucks line and you know that they're ordering something that has like 15 titles in it because they want an experienced drink and to take that picture on Instagram with their long sticker, right? We think we're cool because we can customize, and that's fine. The baristas hate us, but whatever. We're in the age of customization. And I think that we actually give ourselves a competitive advantage when we build that level of customization. Does that require strategy? Does that require time? Yes, it hurts my brain. Like it hurts my brain to think through how do I do that? What I would say has been successful for myself and some of the people that I work with is use a calendar. What is going on in the world during certain times of the year? Can you get in on mental health month? You know, all these different groups that we have that are celebrating different times during the year. Can you create something appropriately with the right voice and the right tone that honors everyone for these different celebrations that we have? Are there times of the year where we know that business struggles or does great? Can you speak to those? You know what calendar, the kind of unseen calendar, exists inside of your industry. Right to that because everyone's stressing out about the same thing. Do something small, create a curated workflow for that. You can use it year after year at that same calendar cycle.
So if I'm trying to just imagine this here, if I were to implement what you're sharing, just keep me honest here. I'd go into high level, go to the workflow section. I pick one topic, and in that topic, I would just discuss whether it's one email every other day, an important part of a bullet point from that topic. So 5 bullet points around that one topic. And then in that workflow, I would add the tag option. So if they like took an action in there, it'll assign the tag.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then you use that to start building other likable interests that you, okay.
I
All right.
do.
Yeah.
And then I hold on to them and I keep those forms. And sometimes I embed those forms on my website at certain times of the year, or sometimes I embed them if I'm a guest on a select podcast, or if it just
Mhm.
fits. I have these tools that's already there. The machine is already there, ready for me. All I have to do is use it when it's most appropriate. I like to speak, I like to do corporate speaking. And so if I can create a one-off workflow that fits what those attendees are doing, keep that in my back pocket. That's the QR code that I show instead of just sign up for my newsletter. It's would you like 5 tips on this? Instead of it just being a white paper that they're downloading for free, they're probably not going to look at. It's a email that they get once a week for the next 4 Tuesdays. And the beauty of it is you can weave these paths. Again, it takes time, but you can then weave the paths where that one goes to this workflow. Wait a month, now go do this. You can put, your calendar dates in there so that you wait until another important calendar date. And now it's time to pop up for this. Hey, you signed up for this 6 months ago. We just want to check on you. How are you doing? Now it's the beginning of the year. Building your paths. I've got giant whiteboards in my office, and I'll literally just draw my path. First, they experience this, then they experience that. I want someone to stay with me for a decade. How do I do that? They're going to board in my newsletter, but can I kind of bring them back in because I'm providing something of substance, of value, a tool that's going to help them instead of just pick me.
Yeah.
That's
And
my,
you can incorporate video and you can incorporate
oh
the
my,
podcast. And you use the book as an example because you publish many, many books. I think you've mentioned you published over, 100 different titles with yourself and your customers and those you consult with. So, there is a way to remix the traditional newsletter. And what I'm understanding here is you can remix it by frequency, personalization, speaking to a pain point around a certain topic or timeline within the industry. And this is where you highlight the niche and you set yourself apart as an expert within that niche, right? So if I were to reach out to, the painters and talking about, maybe the winter or landscapers, talk about, the different times, maybe it's, an emotional type of topic, a motivational business topic, and then it's more of like a let's take action topic. And because they've seen my name and they're still opted in, it turns into a relationship, maybe just one way, but at some point maybe they go to my YouTube or my podcast or they come to an event or just right reply back.
correct. And for strategy wise, to make it really simple,
Yeah.
I love to go buy, or I coach my clients, go buy a pack of highlighters. Go buy your book. Green is for management. Yellow is for frontline. Orange is for C-suite. Whatever the model is, pick, and you can do this for your business plan. You can do this for your collateral that's inside of your brick and mortar business. Grab the things that you are giving out to people all the time, that people are reading and absorbing about you. Print your Google page, print your website, whatever it is, and then highlight in colors your niches. Who are you speaking to? because that's going to be how you content mine and figure out, oh, entry level actually would really like to know how to get promoted. Managers really want to know how to promote. C-suite really wants to make sure that they're saving enough money in retention. They don't have to keep rehiring. They'd rather spend that money on marketing. Where is that in your website? Where is that in your copy, in your collateral? Bet you can find it. Then go build one workflow for each person, have those forms, do the whole back end, have a QR code. Now you have a path where it's been curated for your customers and they can actually have an immersive experience just for them.
Yeah, and this isn't a one, two, three, get it done. You definitely have to do some thinking, some planning. You have to, you know, prepare a great message. And I'm excited to hear the feedback from those listening, and I'm really understanding like if I'm going into, into a new market, this is what I should consider doing. So we get into the second part, bullet point two here, which is simplifying your message. With different ways of telling stories on social media, email. Um, how do you simplify your message and also keep the value in it?
Sure. I think it's really tempting for us as creators, as those who own our businesses and are doing our own thing, to want to bring people with us on this entire journey of everything that we've learned and everything we've gone through to get a product or service launched out the door. Someone once equated it, and I love this story. They said, sometimes we take our customers on this little journey and then we end up in this big, beautiful bridge. And we sit there and we go, ah, look where we can go to the other side of the bridge. But look at the wood I used. Would you like to smell it? Would you like to look at it? Would you like to see what we stained it with? Look at the nails that we used. Look at this and the design and all the. And it's like they really just want to go to the other side of the bridge. And we get stuck. We're like, but look at how beautiful. And they're like, but where am I going? And the more that we can actually keep our eyes on where are we going and where do we want to take them, it's actually quite simple. You should be able to communicate about a new product launch, about a new service feature, about a new direction that you're going in, or even an old one. It's totally fine. In the time that it takes to wait for your coffee to be delivered. When people are asking you, how are you doing? How's your day going? What are you working on that's new? You should be able to say, it's been really fascinating because I just figured out how to bring character back into law enforcement. We do that with this, this, and this, and I'm really loving what we're doing. If you can have a really short conversation, think friend. Don't think stage and platform and I need to do an entire TED Talk. Think, how would you talk with a friend about one thing that you did today that makes someone else's life better? Simplify. Don't give away the entire bridge. Have little coffee conversations in the stolen moments of the day instead of thinking that you actually have a stage for 40 minutes.
So much easy. It's so easy to say less is more. How does
Yeah.
somebody that I'm the type to go in depth? I just sometimes I could overwhelm somebody. What advice would you give to someone like myself that just goes too in depth and they're
Yeah.
just used to it, right? They're used to going in detail and in depth, and they lose their audience or they over add value into an email where it's like this is too much.
So I'm actually going to see my grandma for the first time in a couple of years. My younger brother's getting married, so we're all kind of joining together next week. And if she's going to ask me about my job, I'm going to have to keep it simple. She's never used high level. She's never used a CRM. It's not that she's ignorant. It's a different generation, right? I should be able to explain something that I'm doing to my grandma. Likewise, I would love to be able to explain what I'm doing to the group of high school students I met with this morning in an entrepreneurial class. They don't understand all of this either. So, how do I communicate? Hey guys, my name's Cassandra. My company is Launch Your Message. I love working with authors, but I also love building mental health resiliency tools. Let me tell you what I worked on this week and how you can be a better entrepreneur. I should be able to explain it to kids or to my grandma. And so, for those of us who love to get in the details, because I love myself some details, think about communicating to someone that you love who's older or someone that you love who's younger, and how simple do you need to keep it for them?
Thank you. I try not to get myself involved in this episode here, and right, I'm very lucky that I
Good.
get to meet people like yourself. I definitely uh, take some notes, and I definitely try to implement one or two things that I learn every time. But I know I'm not the only one, and I don't know if it's a generation. I don't know if it's just a human or just what you're used to being around. But it is a great way you put it. And although to maybe myself, as I'm like, man, I'm skimping out on really sharing what I really do. I think what I'm getting from you is it's the starting point, and it lets the conversation start for them to want to be more curious. So you
Correct.
give you talk it like to your grandma, and then that person who maybe not grandma says, well, tell me a little bit more, man. I'm actually in that industry, or maybe I could use your help.
Well, you know what I think
That's
happens? I think we feel this internal pressure that we have to make the sale. We feel
absolutely.
all of this like, do I use the right words? Did they get enough information? And I think a lot of times, because we're in the information age, information generation, we think if I just give them more information, they'll do the thing that I hope they do. Not always. Sometimes you have to leave them with that little bit of curiosity, a little bit of that open door. Here's what I would say that's different than my grandma or speaking to the high school students this morning is having a good, soft call to action. So
Mm,
we don't have to give away the entire thing when we're talking with people or when we're meeting with new clients or doing discovery calls. We just give them one to call to action because I think sometimes we like share everything and that's like, well, do you think I'm pretty? Yes or no? Like we just don't know what to do, right? But at the end of the day, it's, hey, if you're not ready to like close the sale, hey, I would love to continue the conversation. But before we do that, could I send you a 5-day tool on resiliency? Just
mm.
build the rapport because again, you already have the tools. You have these micro experiences for individual niches. They feel like they've been seen, heard, valued, and understood. You're already ready for them, and you don't have to close the sale. And then all you do is you set your little calendar reminder and you automate it for yourself, going, oh, I gotta go check in with that person a Tuesday following after I know they finished the campaign because I already know it went out. And I can even see inside of the tool whether or not they opened it. Like you can make it so easy on yourself to know that you actually did establish that credibility with that person.
So leveraging what you've put a lot of time into in for the niche, the industry that you're serving, and that soft call to action is, hey, I know you're busy, and I know this topic is very important to you because we've been speaking about it. I want to send a few things over to you. Would you be okay with that? So that in that right, maybe they're always going to say yes, but I think for us, we'll at least be able to see that they read it or what they click on within it to determine what's next.
Right. And you know that like there was a Jason Mraz song from a long time ago that said you win some, you learn some. It's like you don't lose anything. You might think you lose the sale, but you learned the information. You learned what those open rates were. You learned where you lost people. Maybe the fourth one, the sequence, no one ever opens. Why? You got a bad tagline. Go ahead and change that. Figure out where your audience is. You can test and adjust, and you're not spending marketing dollars. You're actually just working with the people who already are curious about you. There's other ways to warm up stuff later, but like just work with those individuals. It also lets your buyer or potential client know I'm not desperate. I'm okay to wait a week. I'm okay to let you get to know me first, to vet me a little bit first. It gives trust back and forth instead of just, oh, please pick me.
It's much more clear, and this is in the age of like import leads, send in touch points, text, email, retarget. This is how you stand out. This is something you could use to stand out to those that have decided to remain on your list, and you can bring value for that conversion to kick in. So, we put all this time and effort into doing our best to perfect, speaking directly to our audience, crafting the messages, the micro messages within the one topic workflow. Um, what's really the end goal of all this?
So I believe that people make a purchasing decision for one of two reasons. One of two. And everyone kind of fights me on it, but like, no, no, really. It's either you're solving a problem or you're bringing me joy. That's it. And if you can marry the two of those together, oh, wonderful. Listen, if something breaks in my house, my AC, I live in Orlando, Florida. My AC broke last year around this time. Now it's late September. It's still like 90 degrees in Florida. Your AC breaks, it's hot in your house at night. It's not cool. All I wanted, someone solved my problem. Like, I don't care who it was, just who can do it the most effectively with a reputable brand, someone that I kind of know, like, and trust, and maybe can get here today. Like, Solve my problem, right? Now, do I need a churro on Main Street when I go to Disney World? No, I do not need that. It brings me joy. Like, if that's something that I want, and I just want to be there with my friends and take pictures and do whatever, it brings me joy. Now, if I actually work with a client, I hope to work with clients where I'm solving their problem. I'm helping them find the words so that they can write the book they've always dreamed of. But I'm also hoping to bring joy. They feel like I value them as a person. They feel like I've given them a way to connect with their family, with their audience, to leave a legacy project. If I can marry those together and they find it joyful to work with me because I'm easy to work with and I honor them the whole way through it, I think that's the winning combo. So the more, look, I know we're very focused in business on just solve the problem, target audience, what's their pain points, make sure we do it. That's great. Start there. Go a step beyond. Make sure you're curating personal, immersive experiences for people with joy infused in it. And I believe that that is what makes you memorable. And people refer you that way because they felt that joy and it resonates out the next time someone else is griping about a problem.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to think about here. Let's say there's a high level agency that's listening in and they serve real estate agents. Could this work for their clients as a consulting piece of advice of, hey, we should put this campaign together and right?
But here's the thing. Okay, so if a real estate agency, what is your greatest point of connection within your business? It's your agents, right? So like for me, and this is just off the top of my head, I'm not
Hmm.
really in that world, but if someone came to me and was like, hey, we want to do better, what do we do? I'd be like, man, the holidays are coming. This is awesome. Get out your iPhones. Have every single one of your agents talk about what they're thankful for Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
what tradition they have with their family at the holidays, what Christmas means to them, a favorite Christmas memory, whatever it is. Are they talking about houses? No. Are they talking about the market? No. Are they talking about industry or interest rates? No. They're talking about themselves. We're building trust and likability. We're building that rapport. So you see that kind of stuff in your feed. It's like celebrate the holidays with our team of agents. We're sharing and swapping recipes over TikTok or whatever it is, and these campaigns. How much fun is that? It's people to people, it's human to human connection instead of just pick us to sell your house, pick us to sell your house. So, how can you actually infuse human connection inside of what you're doing? It's not always the bridge, it's where are we going? We're people who deliver a standard of excellence when we're inside of your home and we want to welcome other people in, just like we did. Welcome into our holiday celebration.
Yeah, it's powerful because the creativity is what you start to fuel, and there's so many different angles to go through. I think the hardest part is getting the first part going, which is maybe the planning. And then once you do the one or two, emails that go out and you start seeing the result, man, this is actually too good to be true. And I really appreciate you walking in depth through these different elements, how you use them, how you use them with your clients, because the power of email, in my opinion, has diminished a bit because of the content and the noise that's out there. And those that are reading it, because like you said, maybe the subject line or the preview text did catch their attention, you best believe your content better be helpful where it brings them a solution to a problem or a joy, or they're going to unsubscribe at that point.
Right. Are you welcoming them in? And it's daring. It's vulnerable when you do that kind of stuff. Like, do I really want people to know about my favorite childhood memory at Christmas? Like that's vulnerable. Don't do anything like scary or dark, right? But like when we share, it does create that connection. And some people aren't going to be about that. I would say never push your team to go beyond their comfort level. But what I would say is I actually think that most employees, most teams are looking for purpose. They're looking for meaning within the workplace. And so if you give them those avenues as the visionary within your company, you give them a chance to welcome other people into something great that you're building. You're not talking about the thing that you're building, you're talking about the experience together. I actually think people have fun with that.
Well, it's if you're just tuning in right now and you haven't had a chance to watch all of what we just went over, I invite you to go back. And if you're not a high level user yet, these people like you're just meeting here, Cassandra, are all in our community, sharing their expertise, their experience, but more importantly, giving what's working in their business to others to help them make it work in theirs. Sandra, you've been very generous with your time, and what you shared um, can be implemented in many different ways. If folks want to reach out to you, we're going to include some information below. But more importantly, what's some advice that you can give to our audience now as we wrap up here with how they should, look and take action and what they should keep in mind while doing so?
I think the first thing I'd say is you probably have untapped potential within your team. There are creative people in your team who think like this, and maybe they just haven't had the opportunity to explore that yet. I'm not talking about just going to a social media intern and saying, hey, what should our new campaign be? Experts, talk to your pros and say, if we were to put human to human connection back inside of our business, what would that look like? How can we share the best of us with our audience? I bet you've got some creative people on your team who've got some ideas. Be open to that. And then dare to spend, I would say, I know this is risky, but I'd say about 2 to 4 hours with two or three of your top people. Give them space to do this. Get a whiteboard. Figure out what does those micro personalized experiences look like. What are three that you could use? You don't only need three. We're talking about 3 5-day campaigns. Try that first. See how it hits your audience. See what people say. See what your open rates are. See if it's different than your regular email blast or your next promo sale. Test it. You don't have to go all in and dive deep, but create that space, whether it's for yourself as a solopreneur or your team. I'd say trust the process. Dare to share the best of who you are.
We're going to leave it at that. Dare to share. Tell your story. Have fun while doing it. Showcase your people. Showcase your business. Showcase your impact. Solve a problem or bring joy. Cassandra, it's been an amazing pleasure to meet you, to just be, spending some time with you here, sharing your expertise, but learning as well while I'm listening. We got to definitely connect again. And for the audience that's tuned in, let us know in the comments, what was the takeaway that you had? What's one or two things that you said, I'm going to be open-minded to this and I'm going to give this a shot because I'm doing something the same way over and over. I need to do something a bit different to disrupt my flow. Until next time, we got more coming at you. We take this serious because we want to make sure high levelers are educated by others, inspired, and are prepared to take on. Until next time, we'll see you. Have a good one. Bye now.